Are you a little tired of practicing the same side angle pose or Parsvakonasana over and over again? Or if you're a yoga teacher, are you a little tired of teaching the same side angle pose the same way over and over again? Well, I can relate to that. And so I've decided to share in this video my 5 favorite ways to just bring some creativity and variation to our good old side angle pose. So here is the first variation. And in this one, we want to have a block underneath our bottom hand. I'm going to place the block inside my front foot, but you could also have it outside your front foot. But you could just see it better if I place it here. So we have bottom hand on a block in our side angle pose. And then here's the cool variation. We actually pick up the block and lift the block up, press it between our palms, and try to hold this. And this suddenly transforms what may have been like a ho-hum side angle pose or Parsvakonasana into something super fiery and very effortful. So my arms are working a ton here. But I'm also loading my lateral core, this top side waist. These obliques are working a lot more. Like when I'm here and I'm resting on the arm, they're not really working at all. But if I hover, they work more. And if I reach my arms forward, I've lengthened the lever and they work even more. Additionally, this standing leg also gets to work more because, it works some here, but once I'm hovering and reaching, there's a lot more weight bearing down on the leg that it has to resist against. So this is a great fiery and kind of surprising way to change up your side angle pose. And then here's another idea I really like. And this doesn't so much change side angle pose itself, but it changes the transition and what we move into and out of for side angle pose. So it's like this. We start in our good old side angle, and then we move up and over into a lateral lunge toward the back of our mat. Then we rise up and we lower right back down into side angle pose. Here it's familiar, and then here it's maybe a little less familiar to make this transition, and then up and over, and we can just arrive right back, click back into side angle pose. This is also a great way to load and maybe create some strength in this back leg, because lowering down and lifting all the way up out of that lateral lunge is really asking for a lot of work in this back leg. So that's side angle pose to lateral lunge, and that's a great way to change things up kind of around side angle. And then here's another idea that actually is a spin on side angle itself. And this will look like this. So here we are in Parsvakonasana. To do this variation, I like to bring my top hand to my hip. And then I'll scoot my back foot forward just as much as I need to until I can feel that my front leg is carrying most of my weight and I could actually float my back foot. So variation on side angle. And then from there, knee taps, back knee to front knee. And then I lightly step back. I don't thud that back foot back, but I lightly step it back. And then I go knee tap and step back. So this is a balance challenge for sure, but it's also adding more load to the standing leg. So it can be a really great way to work on extra strength in the front leg in Parsvakonasana. And it's just super novel. Like, when do we ever do that in side angle pose? So I really like it as a great way to kind of spice the pose up. Then for this next variation, this will require a resistance band. For this one, we step on the band, and that band is going to be under our front foot in our side angle pose. So normally in side angle, we reach the arm to frame the ear, but for this next move, we will hold the band and then reach our arm straight forward. And then I'm going to hold it like this instead. And then from there, I pull out and up on the band and then lower it back down with control. And what this effectively is it's in the strength training world, this would be called a rear delt fly. That's what the strength movement is here. Like what I'm doing for my top shoulder is I'm working the rear deltoid or the posterior deltoid on that shoulder as it's having to lift up against the resistance of the band. And that's a great way to create some back body strength and to just bring good shoulder pulling work into our yoga practice because yogis in general hardly ever get pulling work for the shoulders because yoga is all about push. So the more strength that we can bring in terms of pulling is great. And also, so that's like a side benefit, but it's also just a great way to change things up in our side angle pose. It's still side angle, but we're doing something a little different. And then here's my last favorite side angle variation. This one's on more of the mobilizing side. So once again, instead of the arm framing the ear, we'll have the arm straight up. And then this is thread the needle, where we thread the arm under and reach for the wall on the other side, and then go right back up. Thread through, reach across, and return to where we started. And we can just repeat this dynamically for a few rounds. And I find this to be a great way to bring some novelty and change to side angle, but it's also a great way to work on thoracic mobility, especially thoracic rotation. As we rotate, you can focus on feeling the upper and mid back move as you move, and also the shoulder blade of this standing arm. Notice like the movement that happens relative to the shoulder blade too, because all of that is involved here. So those are my 5 favorite ways to change things up in Parsvakonasana. I hope you appreciated these suggestions. And if you found this content to be of value, subscribe to my channel so that you can stay up to date on all of the tips that I share.